The stage lights were too bright for such a small girl. She stood alone in the center, holding the microphone with both hands. Her hands were shaking. She was just a little black girl. Thin legs, old shoes, simple dress. She looked scared, but she did not move back. The judges sat in front of her behind a long table. They looked powerful. They looked confident. And they looked bored. One judge leaned back in his chair. He looked at her from head to toe. His eyes stopped on her shoes. He made a small smile, but it was not kind. Another judge whispered something to the judge next to him. They both laughed quietly. The audience heard it. The girl heard it too. People in the crowd started whispering. Is she too young? Why is she here? She doesn't look like a singer. The girl tried not to listen, but every word felt heavy on her heart. The host called her name. She took one small step forward. Tell us your name, one judge said. His voice was cold. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out at first. She swallowed and tried again. My name is... Her voice was soft. Too soft for the big room. The judge raised his eyebrow. Speak louder, he said. She took a deep breath. She said her name again. The judges did not smile. They did not say welcome. They did not wish her luck. One judge looked at the paper in front of him. He sighed. How old are you? Another judge asked. She answered quickly. She did not want to make them angry. The judge nodded slowly. Then he leaned closer to the microphone. Why do you think you belong here? He asked. The question felt like a knife. Her eyes moved down to the floor. She remembered her school. She remembered kids laughing at her voice. She remembered people saying, girls like you don't become stars. Her chest felt tight. I love to sing, she said. The judges looked at each other again. One of them smiled, but it was not warm. This is a big stage, the main judge said. Not a place for dreams. It's for talent. The audience became quiet. The air felt heavy. The girl felt small. Very small. She could hear her heart beating fast. She thought about her mother. Her mother worked long hours. Her mother saved money just to bring her here. Her mother said, never let anyone tell you who you are. The girl closed her eyes for 1 second. When she opened them, the main judge was still watching her. His face showed doubt. Are you sure you are ready? He asked. Some people in the audience laughed. Not loud, but enough. Her eyes started to burn. Tears tried to come, but she pushed them back. She did not want to cry. Not here, not now. Another judge leaned forward. Many kids come here, he said. Most of them fail. The girl nodded slowly. She already knew that feeling. The main judge looked at the clock. We don't have all day, he said. You have 10 seconds. 10 seconds. The words hit her hard. 10 seconds to prove yourself, the judge added. Or you can walk away now. The girl froze. Walk away, that would be easy. No more looks. No more laughing. Her feet felt heavy. Her throat felt dry. The audience watched closely. Some felt sorry for her. Some were waiting for her to fail. The judges waited. The clock ticked. 1 second. 2 seconds. She took a deep breath. Her hands stopped shaking a little. She lifted her head. 5 seconds. She looked straight at the judges. Not angry. Not proud. Just calm. 7 seconds. The music man looked at her, waiting. Ready to press the button. 9 seconds. The main judge opened his mouth to speak again. But before he could say anything, the music started. A soft sound filled the room. The girl closed her eyes. She held the microphone tighter. And just as she was about to sing, the screen fades to black dot, The soft music continued to play. It was slow. It was gentle. But the room felt heavy. The little girl stood still. Her eyes were closed. The microphone felt cold in her hands. The judges waited. One judge crossed his arms. Another leaned back in his chair. They did not expect much. The audience leaned forward. Some people felt curious. Others felt uncomfortable. The girl took a deep breath. Her chest moved up and down. She could hear the music clearly now. It reminded her of home. She saw her small room in her mind. The cracked walls. The old window. The thin blanket on her bed. That was where she used to sing, late at night. Very quietly. So no one would complain. She remembered the first time she sang in public. It was at school. She stood in front of the class. Before she even started, kids laughed. Someone said her voice would sound ugly. Someone else said she should sit down. She still sang. And when she finished, the room was silent. But not the good kind. The teacher changed the topic quickly. No claps. No smiles. That day, she cried alone. The music on the stage grew a little louder. It pulled her back to the present. Her hands started to shake again. One judge whispered, "She looks scared." Another judge smiled. "She won't last." The girl heard nothing. She was inside her own world now. She remembered her mother sitting on the edge of the bed. Her mother's tired face. Her gentle voice. "Your voice matters," her mother said. "Even if people don't listen." Her mother was not in the audience today. She could not take time off work. But the girl felt her presence, like a warm hand on her back. The music paused for a moment. Just one moment. The girl opened her eyes. She looked at the judges. Not to ask for permission. Not to beg. Just to see them. They looked strong. They looked sure of themselves. They looked like people who decide who matters. Her heart beat faster. She thought about the people who said she was too dark, too poor, too quiet. She thought about all the time she wanted to stop singing, but she did not stop. The music started again. This time, deeper. The audience grew quiet. Very quiet. Even the judges stopped talking. The girl adjusted the microphone slightly. She lifted it closer to her mouth. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. A judge raised his eyebrow. Another checked his watch. The pressure grew. Her throat felt tight, like something was stuck inside. She swallowed. She thought, what if they are right? What if I fail again? Her eyes moved to the floor. The shiny stage reflected her small feet. She looked fragile. But inside, something was moving. Something strong. The music reached the part where the voice should begin. The moment was here. The girl's fingers tightened around the microphone. She remembered every night she practiced alone. Every time she sang while washing dishes. Every time she sang to forget hunger and fear. She had nothing else. This was her one thing. One judge leaned forward. Is she going to sing or not? He muttered. The words cut deep. The girl took the biggest breath of her life. Her shoulders relaxed. Her fear did not leave. But it stepped aside. The music slowed. The audience waited. Then a soft sound escaped her lips. Not a full note. Just a breath with feeling. Some people frowned. Some people tilted their heads. The judges looked unsure. The girl felt the sound in her chest. It felt real. It felt true. She lifted her head. Higher. Her voice was about to come out fully now. The next note would change everything. The judges did not know it yet. The audience did not know it yet. But the room was no longer in control. She was. The music held on one last beat, and just before her true voice filled the hall, the screen cuts to silence. The room was silent. Too silent. The little girl stood still under the bright lights. Her fingers held the microphone tightly. Her chest rose as she took another deep breath. The music waited for her. Everyone waited for her. The judges stared. Some with doubt. Some with quiet judgment. One judge leaned forward, ready to stop her at any moment. Another judge looked calm, but his eyes showed no hope. The audience watched closely. Some felt nervous for her. Some were sure she would fail. The girl felt all of it. Her heart was beating fast. Very fast. For a moment, she thought about stopping. She thought about walking off the stage. She thought about saving herself from more pain. But then, she remembered her mother's voice again. Sing even when you are afraid. Her lips moved. And the first note came out. It was soft. Very soft. So soft that some people in the audience leaned forward. They wanted to hear better. The note was not loud. It was not perfect. But it was honest. The sound moved slowly through the room. One judge lifted his head. Another stopped tapping his pen. The girl felt the note travel from her chest to the air. It felt warm. It felt safe. She sang the second note, stronger, clearer. The audience stopped breathing. Her voice was gentle, but it carried pain. It carried truth. She sang about feeling small, about being unseen, about being told she did not belong. Her words were simple, but every word had weight. One woman in the audience covered her mouth. A man in the back wiped his eyes. The judges exchanged quick looks. This was not what they expected. The girl closed her eyes again. She did not look at anyone now. She sang like she was alone. Like she was back in her small room. Like no one was watching. Like no one could judge her. Her voice grew louder. Not loud in volume. Loud in feeling. It filled the space. The judge who smiled earlier stopped smiling. His face changed. Another judge sat up straight. He placed his hands on the table. The girl sang the next line with more strength. Her fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She controlled the song. The music followed her voice now, not the other way around. The audience felt it. Something was changing. The girl's voice cracked for a second. A small crack. But she did not stop. That crack made her voice even more real. The crowd felt it in their hearts. She sang about dreaming, about holding on, about standing tall even when the world pushes you down. The judge who was checking his watch earlier dropped his hand. He was listening now, very closely. The girl opened her eyes. She looked straight ahead. Not at the judges, not at the crowd, but beyond them. Like she was singing to her future. Her voice rose higher, stronger, clear. The room felt different now. Like the air itself had changed. No one whispered. No one laughed. Even the cameras seemed still. The girl reached the end of the verse. Her chest moved fast. She took a short breath. The judges waited for the next part. One judge felt something strange in his throat. He did not understand why. The girl sang again. This time, her voice was full. Full of courage. Full of pain. Full of hope. The audience could not look away. A child in the crowd smiled. An old woman nodded slowly. The judge who doubted her the most felt his hands shake. He looked down at the table. He did not want anyone to see his face. The girl held the final note of the verse. It stayed in the air, strong, pure. When the note ended, there was no sound. No clapping. No talking. Just silence. A deep silence. The girl thought she did something wrong. Her heart skipped. She lowered the microphone slightly. Then, one judge dropped his pen. It hit the table loudly. Everyone heard it. The girl lifted her head again. She did not know it yet. But that first note had already changed everything. And the song was far from over. The silence did not break. It stayed in the room like a heavy cloud. The little girl stood still, holding the microphone near her chest. Her heart was beating so loud she thought everyone could hear it. She looked at the judges. No one spoke. One judge slowly placed his pen on the table. Another leaned back, but not in a proud way. In a careful way. The girl thought she had failed. Her shoulders dropped a little. Her fingers loosened around the microphone. Then the music started again, soft, slow, different. This was the part of the song that scared her the most. The high part. The part where her voice had to rise. She took a breath. A deep one. Her chest felt tight, but her feet stayed firm on the stage. She remembered something her mother once told her. Fear means you are close to something important. The girl lifted the microphone again. She sang. The sound came out clear. Higher than before. Stronger. The audience reacted at once. A woman in the front row gasped. A man whispered, "Oh my." The girl's voice did not shake. It flew. It carried pain and courage together. She sang about standing alone. About walking forward when everyone doubts you. About finding light inside darkness. The judges sat up straight. All of them. The judge who laughed earlier stopped breathing for a moment. His eyes widened. This was not luck. This was not practice. This was something real. The girl's voice climbed higher. Each note was steady. She did not rush. She did not pull back. She trusted herself. The lights felt warmer now. The stage no longer felt too big. It felt like it belonged to her. The audience felt it too. People leaned forward. Some held their hands together. Some closed their eyes. The girl reached the most difficult line of the song. The line she failed many times before. At home, at school. Her heart jumped. But she did not stop. She opened her mouth wider. And she sang it, perfectly. The note filled the hall. It was strong. It was clean. It stayed in the air like a promise. One judge felt tears rush to his eyes. He blinked fast, hoping no one would notice. Another judge placed a hand over his mouth. He could not believe what he was hearing. The girl felt the power of her own voice for the first time. It surprised her. She stood taller. Her fear faded into the background. She was not a scared little girl anymore. She was a singer. The audience began to react. Soft sounds at first. A quiet, wow. A sharp breath. A small clap that stopped quickly. The judges did not stop it. They could not. The girl sang the next lines with confidence. Her voice was full now. Full of truth. The judge who doubted her most felt something break inside him. All his words from before felt wrong. He looked at the girl with new eyes. Not as a child. Not as someone to judge. But as someone to respect. The music built slowly. The girl followed it. Her voice rose again. Higher. Stronger. The audience could not stay quiet anymore. More people stood up. One by one. Still silent. But standing. The girl reached the final note of this part. The hardest one. She took one last breath. She held the microphone close. And she sang. The note was powerful. It shook the room. It was not loud. It was deep. When the note ended, the silence returned. But this time, it was different. It was not heavy. It was full. The girl stood still, breathing fast. Her chest moved up and down. She did not smile. She did not cry. She waited. Then someone clapped. One clap, then another. Then many. The sound grew louder. The judges looked at each other. They knew everything had changed. But the song was not finished yet. And the biggest moment was still coming. The applause stopped as suddenly as it began. The room fell into silence again. The little girl stood in the center of the stage, breathing hard. Her chest moved fast. Her hands felt weak around the microphone. The music had ended. There was no sound now. No clapping. No cheering. No voices. Just silence. Her heart sank. She thought maybe the claps were not real. Maybe people felt sorry for her. Maybe the judges were still not impressed. She lowered the microphone slowly. Her eyes searched the room. The audience stood frozen. Some people were still standing. Some were sitting, hands covering their mouths. No one spoke. The judges did not move. The main judge stared straight ahead. His face showed nothing. The girl felt small again. Her legs shook. Her throat burned. She thought about running off the stage. She thought about hiding her face. She told herself not to cry. Not here, not now. A few seconds passed. They felt like hours. One judge cleared his throat, but said nothing. Another judge placed both hands on the table. The silence grew heavier. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She blinked fast. She whispered inside her heart, "Please, say something." The main judge finally moved. He leaned closer to the microphone. The sound echoed in the room. The girl lifted her head slowly. Her heart pounded. This was the moment. The judge looked at her. For the first time, his eyes were not cold. They were unsure. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. The audience held their breath. The judge took a deep breath. He started. Then he stopped. He looked down at the table. The girl felt her knees weaken. She thought the words were coming. Bad words. The judge lifted his head again. His voice came out slower this time. "I did not expect that." A soft sound moved through the crowd. The girl stayed still. The judge continued. "When you walked on this stage," he paused, "I made a mistake." The room reacted. People whispered. Some gasped. The girl's eyes widened. The judge swallowed hard. "I judged you before you sang." His voice was quiet now. "I judged how you looked." The silence broke. A low sound of shock moved through the audience. The judge looked uncomfortable. But he did not stop. "That was wrong," he said. The girl felt her chest tighten. She did not know what to feel. The judge turned his head toward the other judges. They did not speak. One of them nodded slowly. The judge looked back at the girl. "You did not just sing," he said. "You told a story." The girl's tears finally fell. One tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. She wiped them away quickly. The judge raised his hand. "No," he said gently. "Do not wipe them." The audience reacted. Some people cried openly now. The judge continued. "Your voice has truth," he said. "And truth is powerful." The girl felt something warm spread inside her. The audience started clapping again. Slow at first. Then louder. People stood up. One by one. The sound filled the hall. The girl covered her mouth with one hand. She could not believe it. The judges stood up too. All of them. The applause grew stronger. The girl's legs almost gave out. She bent slightly forward. Not to bow. Just to breathe. The main judge waited for the applause to calm. When it did, he spoke again. "You reminded us why this stage exists," he said. The girl looked at him. Her fear was gone. Only emotion remained. The judge pressed a button on the table. A soft light turned on. The audience gasped again. The girl did not know what it meant. Her heart started racing. The judge smiled. A real smile this time. But he did not say the result. Not yet. He looked at the girl and said, "There is one more thing." The room went quiet. The girl held her breath. Whatever was coming next. would change her life forever. The room was quiet again, not the cold silence from before. This silence was different. It was full of attention. The little girl stood still, waiting. Her eyes were wide. Her heart beat fast, but not from fear this time, from hope. The main judge looked at her for a long moment. He placed both hands on the table. "I need to say something," he said. His voice was not strong now. It was honest. When the girl first walked on stage, he remembered what he thought. He remembered the smile, the doubt, the careless judgment, and now he felt ashamed. "I have judged many singers," he said. "I have seen thousands of faces." The audience listened closely. "But today," he continued, "I forgot something important." The girl swallowed. The judge looked directly at her. "I forgot to listen first." Quiet sound moved through the crowd. The judge took a breath. "I judged you by your skin," he said. "I judged you by your clothes. I judged you by fear." The words were heavy. The girl felt them hit her chest. Not with pain. With truth. The judge lowered his head slightly. "That was wrong," he said. No one laughed. No one whispered. The moment was real. One of the other judges stood up. "I want to speak too," she said. Her voice was soft, but clear. She turned to the girl. "When you walked in," she said, "I thought you were not ready." She paused. "I was wrong." The girl's hands trembled again, not from fear. From emotion. Another judge stood. "I have worked in music for many years," he said. "I thought I knew talent." He shook his head. "Slowly, you taught me something." Today, the audience reacted loudly. Claps, cheers, voices of support. The judges had no more words to hide behind. They were silent now. The girl felt taller. Not because she grew, because she believed. The main judge raised his hand for quiet. The room calmed. He looked at the girl again. "Do you know why your song was powerful?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "Because you did not sing to impress us," he said. "You sang to survive." The words filled the hall. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Again, she nodded. The judge pressed another button. A louder sound echoed. The audience gasped. The girl did not know what it meant, but she felt something big was happening. The judge stood up fully now. "We talk a lot about talent," he said. "But talent without courage is empty." He pointed gently toward the girl. "You had courage." The audience stood up. Again. A full standing ovation. The girl covered her face for a moment. She could not stop crying now. The judges clapped with the crowd. No smiles of power, only respect. The main judge waited until the sound slowed. Then he said the words the girl never thought she would hear. "You are going to the next round." The room exploded. Cheers filled the air. People shouted. The girl's knees buckled. She held the microphone with both hands. Tears fell freely now. She tried to speak, but no words came out. The judge smiled gently. "You don't need to say anything," he said. The girl nodded. The judge leaned closer. "One last time, and one more thing," he said. Room quieted again. He looked straight into the camera. "What happened here today," he said, "is a reminder." He turned back to the girl. "Never let anyone decide your worth before hearing your voice." The girl felt those words stay in her heart. Forever. She stepped back slightly. The lights felt warmer. The stage felt smaller. Not because she shrank, because she was no longer alone on it. The judges sat down. They had nothing left to say. They were silent, and in that silence, the girl stood strong. ready for whatever came next. The noise in the room slowly faded. People were still standing. Some were clapping. Some were wiping tears from their eyes. The little girl stood in the center of the stage. Her face was wet from crying. Her hands still held the microphone, but she no longer needed it. She had already been heard. The main judge looked at her with a gentle smile. Not the smile of power, the smile of respect. "You may leave the stage now," he said softly. The girl nodded. She took one step back. Then another. Each step felt unreal. The lights were still bright, but they no longer scared her. They felt warm. The audience continued clapping as she walked. People smiled at her. Some said her name. She looked around slowly, for the first time. No one was laughing. No one was. Judging. She reached the edge of the stage. She stopped. She turned back. She looked at the judges. Then she looked at the crowd. She took a breath, and she bowed her head slightly, not because she was weak, but because she was thankful. The crowd grew louder. Backstage, the noise sounded far away. The girl walked slowly down the hallway. Her legs felt light. Her heart felt full. A staff member smiled at her. "You did amazing," she said. The girl smiled back. It was a real smile. She thought about her mother. She wished her mother could see her now. She wished she could hear the applause. In her mind, she heard her mother's voice. "I told you your voice mattered." The girl sat down on a small chair backstage. Her hands were still shaking. She looked at them. These hands once held fear. Now they held pride. A screen nearby showed the stage. She saw the judges talking. They looked serious, but not cold. The main judge spoke again on the screen. "Today," he said, "we saw more than talent." The audience quieted. "We saw courage," he continued. "We saw truth." The camera moved to the girl. Her face appeared on the big screen. She covered her mouth in shock. The audience cheered. Again. The judge raised his hand. "There are many singers," he said. "But not all singers change a room." He paused. "She did." The girl felt tears fall. Again. But these were not sad tears. They were strong. Tears. Tears of victory. The judge smiled. "Because of that," he said, "she will move forward." The words echoed. Move forward. The girl closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Her journey was not over. It was just beginning. Back in the audience, people talked about her. They shared her story. They shared her name. A little girl in the crowd looked at the screen with wide eyes. She squeezed her mother's hand. "Mom," she whispered, "she looks like me." Her mother smiled. "Yes," she said. "And she is brave." The show moved on. New singers came. Voices filled the stage, but no one forgot her. Her song stayed in the air. In the hearts. Later that night, the girl walked outside. The sky was dark. The air was cool. She stood still for a moment. She looked up. She felt small again, but not weak. Small like a star. She took out her phone. She sent a message. "I sang." She wrote. A few seconds later, a reply came. "I knew you would." She smiled. She started walking forward. Her steps were steady. She did not know where life would take her. She did not know how hard it would be, but she knew one thing. No one could silence her again. Her voice was no longer just a dream. It was her truth. And the world had finally listened.